Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Carlton Live fans. Welcome to our show. We're back from outer space, and we're very happy to be back after what's been a funny final series and a funny old grand final. But that's all behind us now, and it's time to get on to other matters. The grand final was a waste of everyone's time and money and space. We head into now an exciting trade period, and we're heading exciting times for our beloved Blue Baggers. So we lots to talk about tonight. And without further ado, I will welcome my very good friend and comrade and colleague in Johnny Rowe. Good evening, John. Nice to see you.
Yes, good evening, Trevor. Good evening, viewers. It's wonderful to be back. Just a very, very exciting time at the moment. I didn't get to watch the grand final. I was sick as a dog, and I was trying to watch it on my iPad and couldn't get a feed from anywhere, and saw the quarter time score and gave up anyway.
Looking very refreshed, I must say, mate. What did you get up to over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, not a great deal. Like I said, I was crook for about a week over there with a bit of a fever. The first and the last weeks, just totally relaxed. So at the moment, I don't give a bugger about anything. It's really good.
No, very nice. And just fill everyone in. You went to Thailand.
Yeah, went to Phuket. Stayed at anyone's been over there. Stayed at Carton Beach, in a beautiful resort there, with 3 swimming pools and a water slide for the kids, and it was just wonderful just to see them so happy and up and about. It was really good holiday.
You actually took the family to Thailand?
Oh, I did, yes. Geez, it's a dodgy place as a single bloke over there. I'll tell you.
Okay. Word on the street is you may have brought a friend back or set up a friend for our single friend Andrew Lake. Is that true? One of the bars over there, a friend.
And he or she or whatever she was found her way back in my suitcase. I don't know how she got in there, but he got in there or whatever. But Andrew, we must introduce you.
We've had no luck finding Andrew a local lady, so we'll try overseas. And so obviously this Carton Live gig's good for you, mate. I went to Ararat for my off-season break, and you've gone to Phuket. So I'm not sure who's getting the good end of the stick here.
Yeah. Look, just probably about June, July, I picked up a really, really good job to do a website for one of the leading the leading weightlifting organisation in Australia, and so as soon as that first check come through, I thought time to treat the family. We hadn't been on holidays for a couple of years, so we'd do that.
Good stuff. Well done. If you're just joining us, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Like we said in our introduction, it's been a funny old final series and a shitty old grand final, but that's all behind us now. I didn't even have a beer grand final day. I didn't get a chance to crack one open. But now it's full steam ahead. We're officially in the trade season and very close to moving into pre-season. And like we said in our little post, lots to talk about tonight. And we thank you for joining us. And as always, you guys will drive the conversation. And we look forward to having a chat tonight about plenty of stuff. Where do you want to start, mate? Where do you want to start? Let's say hello to people first, hey? Let's say good day. That might be good there. Jason Allen, good day, Jace. He's been on a footy bender trip and he's just got back. Well done, mate. I think that's about 4 premierships in a row for you, mate. So well done to you. John Frisner, good day, mate. Thank you for joining us. Mark McKenzie, our resident VFL expert and all-round nice guy. Good day, Mark. Thank you for tuning in. Carl Hall, good day, Carl. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate you joining us. Pete JH, how's things, mate? Thank you for tuning in. Clara Delabarello, good day, Clara. Hoping Eddie Betts will come back to Carlton next year, 2020. I think that's probably set in stone and one of the things we'll have a chat about tonight. Carl Hall, Murphy is my sister's favourite. Yeah, he's probably a few sisters' favourites, probably a few wives' favourites too. Good old Murph. Andrew Lake, good evening, Andrew. We're just talking about you. Your ears must have been burning. More carriages required for the Teague train? I think so. Rachel Wilson, Trev with a beard. I'm not about a beard. It's just last time I'm going to shave it the next time Essendon win a flag, win a final. So it could be that could be a long way.
ZZ Top coming up.
So as you may have heard, Rach, Johnny went to Phuket and I went to downtown Ararat. Congratulations to the Ararat Rats who won the reserves grand final, by the way. Good stuff. Brendan Whitford, g'day Brendan. Good evening, fellas. Been too long. How long has it been? Seems like a while. Robbie Vahali, g'day Robbie. Great to see you as well. Matt Higginson, first-time watcher. Love to see you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate you joining in. Phil Axe, g'day Phil. Terry Degani, g'day Terry. How are you? Clinton Bart McRae, bloody withdrawals gone. Yeah, that's all good. We've had some withdrawals too. Nathan Collegia, g'day Nath. And Clinton McRae, g'day Clinton. Thank you for all joining us. Mate, it's been a bit happening and there's lots to happen. Where do we start?
Well, I've got 20 names to get through, so I want to start with Eddie Betts because there's a bit that sort of flows on from that. Apparently,
Would you want to start?
Not officially, sorry?
Right, go ahead.
Not officially, the deal has been done as yet, or not that I've seen, but apparently we're looking to get rid of a fourth-round pick for Eddie. And he's on reduced money back at the club. He's been offered a 1-year contract, 2 second-year trigger clause, but very, very heavily performance-based. And Adelaide will pay a lot of his salary for year 1. So it's kind of a no-brainer for me. If we get one good year out of him in that transition while we're starting to bring other players through to that particular role, it's fantastic. He will also have a lot to do with development, particularly in that small forward role, and I don't think there's anyone better in the country who could teach that particular role. And he'll also have a lot to do with our Indigenous players as well. And I understand that him coming to Carlton is a huge part of the Jack Martin deal as well. That's one of the reasons why Jack Martin nominated us. One of the reasons. Because Eddie's just a god, really. So I'm all for it. We've given up nothing, or we will give up nothing, and he'll have a nice romantic trip back to Carlton. And I can't wait for him to get his first goal, hopefully in the first game against Richmond, because the crowd will just go absolutely nuts.
Yeah, look, it's a bit up and down, isn't it? With Eddie, there's some in the he's too old, it's romantic, it'd be nice to have him back, and there's some that just want to open their arms and bring him back in the fold. Obviously, you're in the camp of bringing Eddie back. Love to hear what everyone else thinks of that. Is Eddie a good pickup? Should we have be paying our attention elsewhere? Is he going to be taking the spot of a younger player? Love to hear what you think.
Yes, Chris, Clinton Barton McRae, you're right. He's been promised his number 19 back again. And what has snagged this deal prior to this is that it was Sauce actually. Sauce is much more in the camp of getting Sam Gray across because of the longevity that obviously Sam Gray is going to provide. But he's been talked around for bringing Eddie over, not only because what he brings as a footballer for 1 or 2 seasons, but what he's going to bring in terms of development. But that's what the sticking point was there, and for good on Sauce, looking at all options as well. So now in terms of Adelaide, what also might be I guess putting a little bit of a stopper in this is we've got also another Adelaide player that we're looking at the moment, which is Riley Knight, and apparently he's done a medical at Carlton. So I would think that what's kind of holding this deal up at the moment is the kind of deal it's going to be. Are we going to give him, say, a 3rd-round pick to get Knight and Betts, or will it be a combination of picks and so forth? So I reckon that's the only sticking point. Otherwise, he'll be coming through. No problem about that.
Brendan Whitford says Eddie will be a great mentor.
Yep.
Yeah, I just might read through a few of the comments regarding Eddie. Brendan Whitford said Eddie be a great mentor for the show. Sorry, that was Brendan. Leah Horgay, Leah says hello, thank you much. Taryn DeMarco, Taryn. Eddie's back to do a Hodge role, happy with that. G'day evening to Kane, Dane, Brad, Chris. Thank you for all joining us. And Terry Garney says Rolly Knight denied the medical on Instagram. Not sure what that means, whether we didn't pass the medical. Clinton Butt McRae, 1 year, 30 goals in, mentor for where we go? 1 year, 30 goals, and then mentor Matt Alwies to work with Pat Lee.
All right. So more on the Adelaide front, if I can.
Yep.
And this is the first bit of news. I'm not breaking it. It's been on other circles prior to this, but it's not extremely well known. So pardon me if you've heard this already, but there's another favourite or another son of Carlton who is actually coming back as well. And that is Scott Camporelli is going to be very soon. It's going to be announced that he will be taking over the role as the seconds coach. That role was previously promised to Troy Longmuir on the condition that he didn't get the Fremantle job. So as soon as he got the Fremantle job, it's on to Scott Camporelli.
Wow. Well, actually, I hadn't heard that one. I might have been living under a rock. But that's a great result. He's very highly regarded, Scott Camporelli, and obviously another one jumping the sinking ship of the Crows. But no, that's a real good pickup to have him in our system, and the Twos will flourish. And I'd expect to have a pretty good two side this year as well. But no, I hadn't heard of that one, so we'll class you as breaking that one. You've broken a few stories on the show. We'll give you that one.
Yeah, no, it's been in other circles, so I haven't been. I can't say I broke that one. The one.
So Diesel's back. We've got Camporelli back. All we need is Fev and Cooter, and we've got the makings of the boys' club back again.
You're right, wouldn't it? But so that's the first bit of news. The second bit of news that I was trying to break and cannot. It's absolutely Johnny Tight-Lips out there at the moment. But what I can release is that we're looking at two gun midfielders in terms of getting them to the club. One is an interstater and one is a Melbourne-based midfielder. Obviously, the interstater, there's been a lot of talk about Andrew Gaff. And apparently we have we just tested the water last week, offering a future first round for Gaff, which I'll come back to because I don't get that. But the Melbourne one that I want to get to, and I'm trying to get a name and I cannot get a name, is because it's in a sanctum only that knows about it. It's apparently that unbelievably big that it would absolutely screw up every other single deal that we're looking at. So if it gets out, it really is going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons. So it may not ever get released, but apparently we'll know more after Friday. So look for that from Monday to Wednesday next week.
Watch this space, says John Rowe.
Yes.
And if there's anyone that can sniff out the story, it's your good self. I myself haven't heard anything, but you've got your nose to the ground. And we all know Sosk pulls lots of things out of his bag of tricks. And yeah, if we can, if we add an established midfielder and pick up the likes of Patley and and of course Martin, which may be an unknown, then we're. You'd be hard pressed to see us not making finals next year with adding those to our current list. So very, very interesting. Andrew Lake says, "Good scoop, John. Ollie Wine still on our radar. Could that be an interstate proposition?"
Yeah, look, it's I keep hearing rumblings about Ollie. Particularly if the Tom Papley thing doesn't go through, it's all guns are blazing. But Ollie's not really looking to move, but I think if he had the right deal in front of him and Port Adelaide had the right deal in front of them. They'd talk about it. But, the keeps just getting floated, the Ollie Wines one.
Yeah. Very interesting. It's going to be a lot to play out over the next couple of weeks, and like we said, you never know with Sauce. He can pull something out for sure. Just quickly back on Eddie Betts. Do you see him, overtaking or taking a spot of someone like a Cunningham, like a Fisher? Is he going to be guaranteed a spot, or is he just going to hopefully have to earn it like everyone else?
Oh, he'll be starting 22, no doubt about it, unless he comes really unfit or he gets injured. But I would see them playing Cunningham, Papley if we get him, and Eddie. Probably Cunningham off the bench, and Papley and Eddie in your two forward spots. I think you'll start to see guys like DeLuca and Gibbons back in the twos. Fisher, I've got a really big question mark on where he sits now. Lang, Brad Miller, very well done. Yeah, Lang will sit down out of that as well. So that's where I would see it.
Yep. A couple of other questions. Dan Cutler from Brisbane. His name's been floated around. Young player wanting to come home. Is he someone that you'd have a look at?
Sorry, say that again.
Cutler from Brisbane. Someone's asked about Cutler.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about him because I don't watch a lot of Brisbane games, but I've had some great feedback from the audience. Just talking about how wonderful he is in terms of being a real mongrel on the football, and it could be something that we really need for the right price. Yeah, why not have a look at him? What we've got to remember is that we've still got 7 spots that we've got to fill, either by rookies or by seniors, and we've only got 5 draft picks. So there's got to be another 2 or 3 that come from somewhere. So yeah, what I wanted to get back to as well, what I don't understand, hopefully someone can clarify this for me, is in Andrew Gaff. I believe that he has that this was reported by the Herald Sun today, that he has a trigger contract in his clause that at any stage, if he wants to come back to Melbourne, he can choose to do so, and he will become an unrestricted free agent. Now, as I understand the unrestricted free agent situation is that we don't have to give up squat to West Coast. So I don't know where these picks come from. So if he wanted to walk, we could just offer him a good package and he could say, yeah. So I think that there's a lot more to be played out with West Coast, because they're definitely looking for picks. They don't have the picks to get the Kelly deal done, and they're scrambling at the moment. They don't have the salary cap to get the Kelly deal done either. So
particularly if we don't need to part for pick 9 for Papley, which a lot of people are suggesting that's overs. And if we can hold on to that and then use that in some kind of deal to secure, I'm not necessarily saying it's Gaff, but a midfielder in that ilk, it's going to be a valuable commodity. But yeah, as usual in trade period, lots to play out. It relies on other deals getting done sometimes. It may involve, us having to release, a player. Is that potentially something that we would look at, and who would you look at to give up?
Yeah, well, I kind of think that Fisher springs to my mind. Haven't heard anything. He's kind of a bit lost now, isn't he, Fisher? He's not inside. He's not a winger. This 6-6-6 has really kind of killed him. Our forward line is going to be completely swallowed up now with who we're bringing in, supposedly. I just sort of wonder where he sits. He's a West Australian boy. Back to West Coast might be a bit of an option. I'd be devastated, by the way. I'd be inconsolable.
I'd have to come and visit you in the funny farm for a little while, I imagine. And the same with me if they ever put up Levi, I'd probably have to go and follow that team probably. That's saying a fair bit, but no, I can't see Levi coming now. Now he's in our top 5 best and fairest. I'm sure they're not going to let Levi go, and especially if Phillips goes, then we also need that backup ruckman, don't we? So, yeah, he's potentially one name that I can think of that would be thrown up. Cripper's housemate. I don't know if Cripper would be too happy about that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But obviously,
you can't split up Fish and Crips.
No, we definitely can't. There'll be maybe Lang or Paulson. Maybe Paulson. Probably, Paulson would be a valuable commodity at another club. There's probably been a few inquiries about him. No doubt he's been. Him and his mum have been touring some other facilities around the trap. So maybe Paulson we can live up.
See, that's one player for me. If he had Eddie as a bit of guidance, that he can really come ahead and leaps and bounds. That kid, Levi Brad Miller said he's going nowhere. I don't believe he's going anywhere either. But it's just a contract dispute that's up at the moment, which means that there's still a little bit of that grey area in terms of we only want to give him 1 year. He's after 2 years. If Gold Coast comes in and say, right, we'll give you 2 years, then you never know what might happen. I don't see him going. I can see Phillips going. I can see him going to Essendon because he's not going to get the senior opportunities if Cruz is fit and coming to take his place behind him is TDK. So he really doesn't have a future at Carlton, I don't think, unless Cruiser gets injured immediately this season.
Yep. A couple of people have belayed my darkest fears, and by the sounds of it, Levi in his Instagram, I haven't stalked it for a while, but he said bring on 2020, so that's a really good sign that maybe his year's been extended. If the table lifts up and the that might be just my feeling leaving. The laptop is on his laptop's on my lap right now. That's great news.
So Nathan Kalea, Marchie is not on the move. The Swans sounded out very early on with Carlton in the Papley deal, and we shut it down immediately, saying he is a required player, and there's been nothing since. Swans accepted that, no problem, and there's been nothing since. He's staying at Carlton.
That's good news as well. He's definitely in my best 22. So let's just go back, I suppose, a few years ago when we, made the statement. We put our plan in place about where the club would head to in terms of list management and draft strategies. To the club's credit and to Sauce's credit, we have done what we said we would do in terms of going to draft. We've got some talent. Yeah. We've filled gaps where we certainly needed to in the age demographic and player demographic. I don't think anyone would dispute now where our list is and where our key positions are and our age demographic. And, back to in terms of where our strategy was, and that is topping up our list with some non-draft, I suppose, situations and free agents and trade. So that's exactly where we are. That's where we're sitting, and that's why we're here talking about people like Eddie Betts. We don't know what Eddie Betts is going to bring to the club. We know we would love him back romantically, and no one knows what he might do or might not do. But he fits the profile of where we're looking at to bring in extra talent to the club. He fits the profile of bringing in a player that can certainly add value to some of our younger players. And as again, another 25, 26, 27-year-old mid would certainly add to that. And, if we're talking about worrying about giving picks 9 away or whatever it is for someone like Papley, it's within our strategy and it's something we need to do. And, I think where our list will be filling those holes, it's going to be really, really exciting for 2020 and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. And I firmly believe that in this trade period that we'll knock out the next 2 drafts. Obviously, this year's draft is meant to be okay. 2020 is meant to be as shallow as a puddle. So I think we will really knock out the next 2 drafts in just getting who we need to fill those spots, like you said.
Yep, for sure. Let's hear from our fantastic audience. Damo Stillsby Day. Damo gives Grundy a 7-year deal. 7 years, it's a long time. I don't know. Yeah, well, he'd be one player you'd probably do that for. Jason Allen says, is the Melbourne-based player Clayton Oliver? Do you know something we don't, Jace? Let us know.
I know it's not a Melbourne team based. It's from a Melbourne-based club. The key midfielder is from.
Yeah, I think. Well, I'm not sure, Jace. Maybe on that same page as well, but let us know. He might know something. Andrew Lake might bank top 10 to BNF after 12 rounds. Pete Vlahos, g'day Pete. TDK isn't yet fully developed because he hasn't had much ruck time in the VFL. Very good point. Well, now we've got rid of Lobe and we've got potentially Phillips on the move. That certainly opens it up for TDK just to have a full-on hard year in a hopefully a pretty good VFL side and maybe snag a few games if you can in the two. So, and with Levi there as a backup ruck, it wouldn't be the end of the world, if we just had TDK running around in the twos looking after the ruck.
I reckon, throw him in now. He's at that stage in his career where he needs to, he needs to get some time in the ruck. He's a ruckman forward. He's not a forward ruck. Get him in there. He's really got to take over from Cruz. If Cruz goes down, we really need him to step up. So I reckon he's up to it. I've watched him a lot in the twos, and I've followed him very, very closely. And I like what I see. He's a very big competitive streak. It's good below his knees. He kind of does that cruiser thing where he's not happy with just the ruck contest. He wants to get on the floor as well. He's happy to tackle, and then he can sneak down forward and do what Cruz does and chip in for the odd goal. He's a great mark. He attacks the ball. He's got that wonderful thing I've talked about before with forwards that I love is that forward jumping movement where they get the ball at its absolute peak. It's impossible to defend against a man of his height. I've got big raps for him. If someone asked, sorry I didn't catch your name, if I thought he was ready to step up, I'm a big fan of his.
Me too. Jace Allen heard Oliver isn't either. Brad Miller says it's Viney for sure. In terms of that name, he isn't happy at the D's. That's interesting. I don't know why he wouldn't be happy there, but he'd probably be one player I'd happily take in a heartbeat. And I don't know whether his father's left too, so that's another interesting situation. He's left the D, so maybe Viney is that player we're talking about. If we just got Papley, Martin, and Eddie Betts, is that a successful trade period?
Well, it's a good question because I wanted to get back to Tom Papley and what I think it means to the club. I'd be going a little bit more than a lot of others would on this particular deal because I think he fits exactly what we need. He's young. He's hard at the contest. He loves kicking a goal. He's got perfect read of the play, perfect read of coming off hands, can run into the midfield. To be honest, I'd just fucking get it done. And I reckon him alone and playing at his best, he's enough to make us a serious challenger for finals.
Obviously, there's been a bit of talk around, the fact that he just wants to come home to Melbourne. There's no doubt now, it's been well documented as well that he does want to come to Carlton. Sydney traditionally haven't held back players against their will. They're a professional club, Sydney. Essendon are not in this regard. That's it. Well, in terms of professional, we can talk about Sydney trying to poach Joey Danaher, but you never know the situation in those kind of situations. Maybe Danaher was the one who wanted to initiate those kind of contact and conversations. Sydney. There's a few names I can't just remember off the top of my head, but I think they've been very accommodating of players wanting to go home, and certainly they've been well and truly. Had the benefit of players that have wanted to go up to Sydney, and so I think Sydney in this particular case, as clubs always do, they talk hardball in terms of trying to drive up the draft pick and price to get what they need to do for a trade. But I would be very confident the Papley deal will get done. And yeah, I'm with you. That's if it's pick 9, I wouldn't cry over it at all. We won't be even remembering that. I wouldn't have thought, when Papley's up there kicking goals for us under Charlie and McGovern and Harry in the next few years.
Yeah, I think he's perfect profile for what we need. So I reckon just get it done. You're right in what you said. Sydney did exactly what they needed to do. They come out saying he's not going anywhere, and of course they're going to do a deal. They put that in. That's their first line of negotiation. He's going nowhere. Oh, let's work from that point. They're very professional outfit.
And the good old Gold Coast have done a bit of posturing about Martin, telling they're going to play hardball as well, and hopefully they play harder ball than they do football. But he's been playing in their twos for most of the year, so I would think that that deal gets done as well. I don't think there'd be any hold up there.
Now this is not Carlton related. But you know what I would do is if I was Gold Coast, they've got 1 million picks now or whatever it is. They got 1 and 2. You know what I'd be doing with that? Go straight to Adelaide and say, "Give me the Crouch brothers. Here's pick 1 and 2." They want to leave. They need to start again. They're in absolute tatters.
Yeah.
Gold Coast say, "Here's pick 1 and 2. Crouch brothers, done deal."
Yeah.
Gold Coast can't wait another 5 years for these guys who they're going to pick to come good. They need to get relevance immediately. And the best way to do that would be to get Crouch brothers, because all of a sudden they're off to the races. They're actually a really credible team. And just as a side note, and this is Carlton related, big hats off to Nick Holman, who's just done a deal for another 2 years as well with Gold Coast.
No, good result for Nick for sure. Okay, so those 3 players, and you're confident that that helps us climb up the ladder. Me too. Like we said, Sauce, the master of getting deals done, and the master of also pulling rabbits out of his hat. If we didn't get that midfielder, for me, I'm confident in where we are there. It would be nice to fill a hole, and maybe Cutler is that player, or there's another. I'm in for Zach Jones, but he looks like St Kilda bound. But when you think about some developing players that we've got, obviously we've got Walsh with the preseason under his belt. In terms of big-bodied midfielders, we've had one sitting under our nose all this time, and he's been used for tagging and been used as some kind of utility or even a ridiculous forward option at the start of the year, and that's Ed Curnow, that can easily fill a second midfield spot. We don't know where Bam Bam will be at. Hopefully he can stay fit and get a pre-season in and add some value there. So look, if we didn't get that midfielder we've been chasing, I don't think that's the end of the world, and I'd be sitting pretty comfortable, with those 3 players coming into our group without another midfielder coming in, and Sauce as well. Maybe it could be in that midfield position. SPS once Doc comes back, I don't see Doc coming into the midfield, but he's obviously going to be another addition back there. So look, I'm sitting comfortable as I've ever been in terms of where our list is. Stocker, another one's mentioned, that can only get better. There's plenty to like about with where our list sits. But as I said, Sauce will probably get something done.
Yeah. Now I want to get your thoughts on Jack Martin too. I think I'm not all that keen on it. I mean, if it's for the right price, yeah, okay. But I called it. Geez, what it was about June, July. I called it that he's coming. I'm still not sold on it as an idea.
Yep. Just before I make my comment on that, I'd love to hear everyone else as well. Mark McKenzie makes an absolutely brilliant point there in terms of Papley's stats. Swan's best centre clearance player as well.
Yeah,
and maybe that's maybe that's what Carlton's got up their sleeve in terms of where to play him as a midfield role. And with Eddie back there and maybe Cunningham to play a small forward role, maybe that's and maybe Grays if he's still floating around. I know we've said no to Butler, but maybe that's on Carlton's agenda to stick Papley in the guts.
Yeah, I've no doubt that's one of the reasons why he chose Carlton, is that we said, right, you're not just a small forward, you're going to get a significant amount of midfield time. Yep. Absolutely. Great pick up, Mark.
Matt Higginson says to have a crack at Lockie Whitfield next year for sure if he's if he's still about. Brad Miller says need Williamson fit. Where is he at? Do you know? Yes, I do know. He's back and running and feeling very well, and he's back. He's being looked after, and I'm confident he'll be starting a full pre-season with all of the rest of the group. So that's good news, and love to see him scoop up the ground and maybe take a wing role for the footy club, given our backs are probably sorted. David Jankovic says no new mid. We won't win more than 7 matches. I'm not in that camp, David, but I think we'll be up there and more. I think we're sort of in the 12 wins next year and maybe touching for a final spot, 7th or 8th for me. Rick Spencer says Zach Williams is a free agent next year. That's interesting to know. Dane Rawlings, they don't fill the needs this year. I reckon Papley, Martin, etc. Then build from within. Stockott, Walsh, Setterfield to grow another name that can potentially move into that midfield as well. Damo Stillsby, g'day Damo. Full pre-season for Kennedy, should be ready to help Cripper. Let's hope so. I'm still up in the air about what he can bring, but showed a lot in a few games this year, and pre-season will certainly help him out. Dow with some raw size will be great. Yes, again, another one of our midfield stocks that are there, and hopefully he comes on and develops as well. Phil Axe says, speaking of Charlie, what's the story with the new injury? Dislocated patella is the word, playing basketball with the boys. Thankfully it wasn't any worse than that, but I think he had surgery yesterday, and as I said, could have been a lot worse, but he's a fit young bloke, probably one of the second or third fittest in the club, and the club have said that he'll be back running and running by Christmas, and I don't think it should have too big an effect on Charlie, but maybe stay away from the B-ball, Charlie, because we need you. Okay, Andrew Lake, and just before you left, John, you were talking about Martin. Andrew Lake says Martin's best is exquisite. Lost his way at Suns. Cripps rated him best junior play he played with, and that's a very strong endorsement. The fact he wants to come is a big tick.
Look, I remember back when he was drafted. He was pick 1, I think, in that particular year, and there was talk of him being the greatest player that's ever played. Because his junior years were that strong. Whether he's lost his way or he's just, whatever it is, I still don't see it. But if he does and brings his junior best, then it'll be fantastic for the club.
Yeah, I must admit I haven't had too much. I haven't watched him too closely. I've had a look at his numbers and his stats, and obviously he's been starting off his seasons pretty well, and then sort of dying down in the rear. But that's a concern potentially. As you've said, I don't think we're going to have to give too much to get him. He's certainly at his best will be able to fill a gap for us in that high half forward role. Potentially even maybe a small forward like a Charlie Cameron type player. So at his best, I've seen his best. That's the challenge for him as a player is to be consistent, and whether Carlton can get the best out of him, and maybe that's sitting alongside someone like Eddie.
Yeah, fair enough. Keep going if you like. Then I'll come back to. I want to get back to Butler and Richmond.
Okay, we'll go right now.
Okay, so I saw the comments today of Sauce and also what's his name, Agresto. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Josh Marino, I've got a lot of sources. Yeah, look, I think Sauce played it with a perfect straight bat with Dan Butler. We'll sort of see what happens, type of thing. I think from Dan Butler's point of view, he would not be wanting to come to Carlton, particularly if we get the Papley and Eddie deals done, which look very, very likely, because all he's going to do is going to end up playing seconds at Carlton. And the whole reason why he wants to get out of Richmond is because he's playing seconds. So I don't think that deal will happen unless Papley miraculously falls over, and then we'll go back to the well and say, if Butler's not already gone, we'll say, all right, do you want to do a deal? But I don't see him being at Carlton next year at this stage.
Sauce, just to clarify, Sauce came out this morning, I think, and said that, or at least informed Butler's camp that we are looking elsewhere.
Yeah. Look at it. It's he's looking elsewhere. We're looking elsewhere. It was only going to be if we never got the Papley deal over the line. That's looking very, very likely. And CC Sam Gray on that too. With Port Adelaide. Now the other part of Richmond that I wanted to talk about was Brandon Ellis. There hasn't been a lot said about this, but. What I didn't like is during last week, and might have been a week before, Brandon Ellis's management came out and said how difficult Sauce was to deal with, and he'd be very, very reluctant to deal with Carlton again. Here's what I do know, and this is from a number of good sources, is that we've been chasing Ellis pretty much all of the year, and there was a in principle deal done. As soon as what's his name? Sorry, brain's gone. Still in holiday mode. GWS, the main guy that we're
Canelio.
Yeah, Canelio. As soon as Canelio re-signed with GWS, Ellis and his management came back to Carlton and looked for more money. And Sauce, and this is apparently Sauce told him to stick it up his jumper, and he hasn't been in contact with his manager ever since. So that's why the Ellis deal wasn't done, is because they come looking for more money and really broke the agreement that was already in place. So if that is true, to Sauce's credit, absolutely, I'd do the same thing. Go take a long walk, mate. To his manager. There's three things he's done very, very wrong here. Firstly, is that you don't do that. If you've got a deal done, and you don't go back and say, right, here's more money. I want more money after a deal's done. If that is the case, you never do that. That's not proven. What is proven is he went to the media with it and cried through the media. That is a great big no-no. You didn't get your way. Don't bring it through the media and bring someone else's reputation who has got runs on the board and try and drag them through the mud. And I can tell you, I don't know your name, but there is 18 clubs now that will be very reticent to deal with you now because you went and cried to the media like that. The third thing that you've done wrong is you've fucked your client. Brandon Ellis is going to, sure, he's got the money from Gold Coast and the security that he wanted, but your client will fade into obscurity. He will never play a big game again, let alone a final, and that will severely hamper his post-career. So you've really screwed your client over. And I would say if anyone else is out there, a player who's got this cat as their manager, if I were you, I'd be very, very quickly looking to get other representation because you're not going to get the best out of your career.
No, look, I really love your point about him coming out and having something to say. And there was there was really only one point to do that, and that was to try and make himself look better, and make his whatever representation he was doing look better, and certainly his name up against Sauce's name in terms of the way Sauce does his deals and has done his deals in the past. I think we know where the credibility probably lies, and you make a really, really good point there, John. And of course, we haven't heard Sauce coming back playing tit for tat bullshit.
Brilliant.
And,
Brilliant.
and even if he was asked, which I don't know if he has, I'm sure he'd just play straight back and straight bat and move on, because that's the kind of guy that Sauce is. And for me, I'm glad we didn't get Ellis. I honestly am. Yeah, it might be good in the Richmond side where it can fit in amongst a group of good players there, but where he would need to step up in a good side, and that's it's going to be really interesting to see where he goes and fits into Gold Coast. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, 100% on that. I mean, in a very, very good team like Richmond, he's icing. But icing does not maketh the cake. So the cake that's not rising, icing doesn't mean shit.
No, that doesn't. No, I love your metaphor, mate. It's the flour that makes everything rise. That's for sure. All right. So another person, I think, Kane wanted to talk about another couple of names. One I think was mentioned today, actually. The brother of Harry, Ben Mackay. Someone, would you look at him if he wanted to come and reunite with his brother?
If I'm not mistaken, Andrew Lake would be the best for this. I think he played his junior footy as ruck. So I would say yes, as a ruck understudy. We probably don't need another tall backman. So in that sense, I'd say no. But I'd also want to know what the effect would be on Harry, because they used to be a little bit, a little bit blokish together. He used to go off the rails a bit together. So if it was going to have any impact negatively on Harry's performance or his development, it's an immediate no. If it was going to enhance it, I'd say yes.
Well, yeah, that's interesting about Mackay. First of all, I wasn't aware of him being involved in the ruck, but that does make sense if we were to look at him in that particular role. With TDK, if we're going to especially lose Phillips, we've got TDK and Mackay running around, and maybe we can develop Mackay a little bit better and see where he comes along. I can't see him slotting into our senior side in a hurry. But maybe he will have a look at putting him into that role. But I can't see where he fits other than Iraq. You're right, John. But for me it's a no. I think we've got our stocks sitting up, sitting where we need to in terms of our defensive players. All right, let's move on. Anything more on trade news, John, that you've got to share? Any other names that you can probably think of that we're looking at?
Just not really anything startling. I just want to dot the I's and cross the T's off my list. Obviously, Adam Tomlinson's one that was mentioned early, but that all petered out. I think he's actually nominated Melbourne now, or he's going to Melbourne. So he's one off the list. Darcy Cameron was another one that a lot of us were particularly keen on. But, with Cruiser there and TDK there, I think, he's looking elsewhere because he won't see immediate game time. He'll probably just be in the same situation where he is now. So he'll be a no. Jamie Elliott, someone asked me online on our page about Jamie Elliott. But yeah, I think he's going elsewhere as well, or he'll probably just stay at Collingwood. Gaff we've talked about, Riley Knight we've talked about. An interesting one that I almost ranted for about 3 hours on was there was a very, very shallow rumour about Scott Selwood being picked up as a T-listed free agent, which I think is just insane. That was one that came up. And just question marks that I had. Charlie Constable, I think Sauce would be having a bit of a chat to his management. I think Geelong are doing the most stupid thing now of still they need Geelong needs to move on. They need to get rid of all the old players, not all of them, but most of them, and really put the midfield to the young guys and let them take ownership, which doesn't look like they are doing. So for Charlie Constable, it might be another year of the twos for him. And I don't think he wants to play that way. So I think we'd be asking the question, and we'll see what comes out of that.
If you're just joining us, ladies and gentlemen, we're back following our little break from the end of the season, and it's great to be with you. We really appreciate you joining us. It's been a fun show so far. Johnny's mentioned some news about Scott Campriali coming back to coach our VFL side. In case you missed that news, and that's fantastic result to get him back. He's certainly well regarded, and one guy I thought may have been in the running for the Adelaide coach. But clearly he wants to hightail it like most of their players and officials from over in Adelaide. I don't know if they'll have anyone left to play next year. What else have we mentioned, Johnny? We've mentioned that Papley is a good deal for number 9 and could potentially play midfield as well. John has got some mail that we are into a highly regarded Melbourne-based midfielder. And so watch this space there as well. That's pretty much the main news we've covered so far, Johnny.
Yeah. There's been a little bit of a talk tonight about Jack Viney. I certainly haven't heard that one. If others have, that's good. But I think that the caliber of player that we're going after, given the mystery that's around it, is sort of a little bit higher than Jack Viney.
Yep. Brendan Winford, g'day, Brendan. Thoughts on, this is a good point, I read this article today, Gary Bacanara's article about us being a serious premiership contenders in 2021. He's told mates will be win a flag by 2022. Mate, just go out and get your tat ready to go, because I'm forecasting a Carlton dynasty, and this is a biased Carlton show, of course, but no, you've got to be bullish. You've got to be really bullish about our situation right now, and 75,000 members is the way to go and the target I think we're looking for. Maybe we can get another 5,000 if we bring Eddie home to roost, but no, I think get on board right now if you're not on board. Another piece of news today, John Barker's re-signed. Thanks, Kano, for a couple of years. Obviously, they appreciate what he's doing down there as well. So I think that's a good result. I think Johnny Barker's got some good runs on the board for us.
See, I disagree with that. I think for Johnny Barker's career, he needs to move on. Can't do something else.
Yeah, what opportunities probably out there? I think he wants to probably be part of where we're heading. I'd imagine he's filled in for the role. He was considered for the role, the senior role. I think he presents quite well, and no, hopefully, I'm good. I'm glad that he's there for the ride anyway.
I tell you what, you really something that you just touched on there is really close to all of our hearts. Is that we're a destination again, aren't we?
Oh,
Coach,
there's no
matter.
Yeah.
We're a destination again.
Look, and David Teague has got to take a lot of credit for that. The way he speaks, we'll talk about the best and fairest shortly, and his what he had to say was fantastic. We've talked ad nauseum about the plan that the president and the committee have had in place for quite a while, and there's been some speed bumps along the way with our CEO and coach departing, but in terms of steering the course and the plan, it's been good. They've gone out and got the best people that they can get, and have been quite ruthless in that. So get on board, Carlton fans, and if you haven't got a membership, my renewal came in the mail today, so I'll be signing up for sure again for my 19th year or 20th year, might be this year.
Yeah, I'm heading into
25. Very nice.
Now, breaking news just come through, and it's a huge apology to all the ladies out there in Carlton land. Andrew Lake is off the market, so we won't be doing any more jokes. We won't be doing any more contests for Andrew Lake. He's found someone really beautiful, and all the best to him. Breaking news.
Very happy for you, Andrew. I hope she's a Carlton supporter, and hope she gives you some leave passes to come on the show and certainly go to the footy. So fantastic, good to hear. Good to hear for you, Andrew. More news. Luke Power joining the club was a good pickup, says Richie Benikaza. Henry Playfair, another new addition to the footy club, may have also helped with the Papley deal. I think there were some photos of him and Papley having a chat. But again, certainly Carlton going out and getting these the best of the best is helping us in all directions. And debt's the debt. I think we've wiped off another $2 million from the debt, which was unexpected. Everywhere you look, the club is looking at big things.
Yeah. Look at, don't they expect it to write it off next year too? That debt, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, really love the work our new CEO's doing. Coming from Richmond, and he put some pretty high targets on our membership. And I don't think you'd question him and where we want to take the footy club in the membership side of things. Partnerships with the uni, all those kind of things. The redevelopment of Princess Park. Our girls' side are doing some great things. This is Carlton next year, mate. It's going to be a fantastic ride.
Yeah. Just want to add to all of your thoughts about Luke Power as well. I was stoked that you got a 3-time premiership player as your development. He's just extremely good at it, apparently. I just wanted to raise a question. In my fever that was last 2 weeks ago, I sort of thought, okay, whoever takes on the seconds coach role, should they report to Luke Power?
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not sure the structure that happens in that respect, but maybe Brad Lloyd is someone that they'd report to.
I would think that's the way it currently is, but I think now we've got a director of development that really your seconds coach should report to the director of development. I would think.
Possibly not 100%. Not 100% sure. Mark Murphy, is he going to Brisbane? Josh Baker, no, he is not going to Brisbane. You can all relax about that. That's just some fake news floating around.
Some of the worst Photoshop you'll ever see.
Yeah, well, I've been guilty of doing some pretty bad photoshopping, but that one took the cake. Some people with a lot of time on their hands. Richie Benikaza losing Phillips to Essendon. Don't mind it. I hope he gets a good opportunity, even though poor bastard has to go to Essendon Scum and probably won't ever be part of a final for a long time because they're going down. They're also losing players as well. They're just about second of all to Essendon in terms of losing players. But understand he wants to have a look at opportunities since we've got Cruz and TDK coming through, and of course the big Levi.
And also on Essendon, I just want to sort of reiterate the fact that I put in my writing is that the don't sweat the Papley deal. It'll get done probably at the last moment because unfortunately this deal involves Essendon and Dodoro is the most reprehensible person apparently to deal with in the whole system. No one wants to deal with him. GWS did not want to deal with him for Devon Smith. They did not want to deal with him for Dylan Shield. And Dylan Shield almost came to Carlton because of Dodoro and his idiocy. So expect this Papley deal to go right down to the wire, and it will happen in the very last few minutes of Wednesday.
Interesting times ahead. Just quickly, again, we're going to touch on the BNF, and hopefully there's a few people here that went. I didn't get a chance to go. I was looking for a last-minute ticket, but wasn't able to get there, unfortunately. Throw a couple of names.
I thought you chucked a tape.
No, that went by the wayside. I had something on that night, and then it got canned, and so the last minute I was chasing around for a ticket. But I was even looking for a date if I could squeeze in somewhere there, but didn't get a chance. Just before we head on to the best and fairest, a couple of names I'll throw at you. McCready.
Yes.
Where do you see his future at Carlton?
Oh, look, I was pretty adamant from the start. I reckon we're developing him for someone else. I thought it was GWS. I reckon he's state knives in a trade.
Yep. Darcy Lang.
Yeah, look, I haven't put a line through him yet, particularly if Eddie gets on board and can start teaching a small forward craft. What I do know is that what I have seen with him with Lang is that he's got a good ability to read the ball. He just needs a little bit of confidence and needs to get his body right. We'll see. There's no reason to get rid of him at the moment.
Okay. And Jack Silvani. Word is he's potentially looking at a 2-year contract extension.
Signed, wasn't it, today?
Okay.
I could be wrong. Or yesterday. Was that not signed? I believe it was signed. But look, he's a very good candidate to play inside mid, which you mentioned at the start of the show about us backing in the players that we've got. He might be a candidate for that. He's a funny one. He's always a funny one because you don't know where to put him on the ground. You do your oval, and you can't sort of put him in, and then he's like the first one picked every week.
That's it. Let's hear from a few people. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Really appreciate it on a Monday night. Greg Sandow. G'day, Greg. What are your thoughts on criticism of our president not having his face in the media more? I don't think he needs to. Well, it's just the media who's criticising him for not putting his face in the media, which is pretty stupid, isn't it? But he does what he does, and he does it behind the scenes, and he answers to the members and our supporters, and he does it with open arms. In fact, you could probably, walk up to him at any stage or any function, and he'd probably even know your name if he's met you before. But he's got the runs on the board. So not a problem about me. As long as he's talking to the supporters and the members, I'm not fussed to see him in the media.
So what I liked with him is not only the results. The results are just outstanding for business. Coming off 2 wins last season, and we had 1 win halfway through this season, to get those financial results are just out of this world. But also what I liked with the appointment of Teague is that he actually fucking listened, and the whole of the Carlton board listened to the fans. Because the fans can see what's happening. The fans can see that the players are responding to Teague. And instead of trying to go all right, we'll throw a whole lot of money at Ross Lyon or whoever that name might have been, they'd listen to the fans and say, you know what, we've got our guy already. And I think that took a lot of guts. It's totally against what the old Carlton was.
For sure. Very good point. Very good point as well. Lana Owens is joining her cat and her dog. Good stuff, Lana. And also for her recently passed dad. So that's enough. So here's cheers to your dad, Lana. Hopefully he can look down on us next year and be there and see us get us some success. Brennan Whitford says, love seeing Teague having beers with the boys at the Collingwood versus Giants prelim. Definitely a player's coach. There's no doubt about that. That's for
You there, mate?
sure. Richard for having rating anyway. That's another one to add to the list of things he's had to say. Mark McKenzie, look forward to best 22 following trade and draft period. Well, I'm not looking forward to it. That's going to be freaking hard, isn't it?
It's hard enough already.
Yeah,
I'm going to put one down the next day or so, next 24 hours. Just what our best 22 looks like before trade, and it's hard enough to do already. It really is.
Sure, that's a good idea. All right, let's.
You gone, mate?
To the. I can hear myself.
Yeah,
got me.
Faded out there. Start again, mate.
Am I back again?
You go really great, and you're in and out.
All right, sorry about that, everyone. I must have not paid my internet bill. Should be getting broadband in a few weeks. That'll be cool. So yeah, just on the BNF, looked like it was a fantastic night. The boys are having a beer, relaxing, and getting around amongst the supporters. The speeches went well. Love to hear your thoughts on the night. Did you go? Who was your favourite? Did you get to interact with your players? Love to hear about that. Let's talk about the result, mate. Cripper, first of all, the Brownlow. Cripper, probably robbed of a few games. Probably maybe got a few votes that he didn't, but came home and won our BNF by one vote from Ed, and a surprise packet, Mr. Plough.
Yeah, on to the Brownlow first. I didn't think Fife had that great a year, but I suppose he didn't really have anyone to take votes off him. I don't mind anyone losing to Nat Fife because he's an absolute superstar, both on and off the field. He's just such a great person to listen to. For all of the success personally that he's had, he's not in any way up himself. He's still that WA boy.
Yep.
So I really enjoyed him winning again. Cripps, and I said it on the night on our Facebook page. This is the last time I want to see Cripps up there. I want to see everyone stripping votes off him. And I think that will happen.
Yeah, it's a good point. I don't think you're ever going to, you're never going to hold a good man down like Cripper, but certainly you'd love to see some of these other players getting in there. And it's a testament to the way our voting happens too, that the mix of the votes. And there's been a lot of criticism of Lockie Plowman, and I think now that this result has happened, I think hopefully some supporters may have given him a bit of a whack. May look a little bit broader in terms of their perceptions of the way Lockie goes about it. We know he does have his brain fades and butchers at certain times, but at the end of the day, he does hold down a pretty important role in the team in negating some of those small forwards for the opposition, but obviously very highly regarded amongst the coaching group.
Yeah, look, it's a perfect one, and Teague said it when he took over. After probably 2 games, he said there's a couple of guys here who get caned, but people don't realise that the role they're playing. They've been asked to role and they do it week in, week out. And he didn't say who, but now we know, number one, who he's actually talking about. You think back and you actually, he's pretty right there. Apart from the brain fades that happen, which he gets judged on, he does some wonderful things that go unnoticed.
For sure. Some other good results. Levi Casbolt, I think Levi was up in the top 5. That's a great result for him. Since you hate him.
Oh, he's gone, Ski. Don't worry about it,
Mate. Big news for Levi. Signed a couple of years. Bring it on for next year. Could probably play that big-bodied mid. We don't.
He's got a votes of Crips.
Don't worry about these big name players that we're looking at. Just plonk Levi in the guts of that big bodied mid, and I'm sure we've a chance of winning the flag. Any other unexpected results from the BNF?
Not really. I was really rapt to see Ed take it right up to Crips because he had an enormous season. What is interesting with both the Brownlow and the BNF is that when we started winning games, Crips didn't poll. What does that tell you?
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true. Who else at the best and fairest did okay that we probably weren't expecting? Oh, look, yeah, again, probably. I think it was a good result all up. Again, looks like it was a very good night. A lot of people had a good time. Yeah, Walsh probably a surprise, best first year player, but also like Andrew Lake pointed out, polling in 20. Am I back again or am I gone again?
Yeah, you're off again, mate. You're off again.
Okay. Someone's cutting me off every time I talk about Levi.
I think we should probably cut that there for the night.
Okie dokie. All right, am I back again to say goodbye?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, just quickly, yeah, Walsh, fantastic result. He's can't wait to see what he's going to do next year, get in the gym. Really looking forward to that as well. Am I still with you, mate?
Yeah, still there.
All right.
100%
all right.
Only going to get better.
Yep. All right. We'll sign off now. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much, guys. We've missed seeing you over the last few weeks. Just the start of the trade today, and that's got to go for another couple of weeks, of course. 2 weeks, or is it 1 week? They've shortened to 1 week.
Next Wednesday. So
a week and a half. We've got to go for all of the fun and games that are going to play out. We'll probably join you after that, Johnny, where we'll talk about all of the finalisations of our list in the trade regard, who to talk about, and maybe talk about best few days before and after our trades.
Yeah, I reckon 2 weeks, or maybe even the Thursday after trade period.
Fantastic. All right, Johnny, great to see you again. Thank you very much. Looking very nice and refreshed. I better fix myself up for next week. Really appreciate you joining us. Like I said, thanks to our regular viewers, thanks to our new viewers. Really appreciate that. We'll also probably do our talkback show next time as well. But lots to look forward to for the rest of the trade season. Eddie Betts coming home, lock that in. Papley, lock that in. And let's see what Sauce can pull out of his hat, and let's see if Johnny's mail is up there in terms of a sneaky little midfielder coming to our club. But thank you, Johnny. Good night.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Apologise if we didn't get to everyone's comments and chats, but thanks again, and we'll see you very soon. And good night.
Good evening.